We'll show you the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. YWAM Vietnam works in community development, and we'll introduce you to the Aceh in this issue of Global Perspective.
Hello and welcome to this issue of Global Perspectives. Our first story takes us to New Orleans, where Hurricane Katrina hit this past August. Youth with a Mission Texas sent a camera team there to see the impact it had on YWAM New Orleans. They sent us this story.
Youth with a Mission started in 1982, and it started with 6 people, and they lived in one apartment building on the other side of the river. And we were an urban missions project, trying to reach the world through reaching our cities. And we're still that. And our office is right behind us, and this office didn't happen until quite a few years later after we'd begun. Most of our buildings have been in the slums or in a place where really nobody really wanted to live, where there was many poor people, alcoholics, drug addicts, and prostitutes. And the same with this office. It's in an undesirable area, but the neighborhood's improved. Many middle income and upper middle income people have moved in here and bought these old houses and fixed them up. So this has been a great blessing. We've had this building for about 14 years. This one in the hurricane only sustained light damage as compared to some of our other buildings. And the building that is destroyed the most, well, one of them is totally collapsed, but the other building that was destroyed a lot in the hurricane was a building that houses many of our short-term teams that come to the city. This year we have already hosted 30 short-term teams, close to 1,000 people doing evangelism, working in the soup kitchens, working on Bourbon Street with the drunks and alcoholics, and where the strip joints are, some of the worst places in America that people come to and party, and we reach out regularly on that street. Our Hope House property is 6 buildings. We started in with 4 buildings that we got in an area where really nobody wanted to live, and we restored a lot of old buildings. None of them were livable, and then the property next door came for sale and we were able to get it. But in that ministry called Hope House, it was a ministry of radical hospitality, to take in the drug addict and the alcoholic, the prostitute, the person from the street, and just people that needed discipleship. And so we have significant losses there, with one building that totally collapsed, almost all the roofs leaking and water pouring in. Of course, one collapsed, the wall blown out on one. So we're excited. We're rebuilding that, and already started and have one roof on one already in that place. So we need many more laborers and people to help us with that. We're establishing another short-term evangelism house. It's a huge house. We call it the Annunciation Street, or A House for short. It's 5,000 square feet. It will have bunk beds for, we believe, around 70 people, and we can even fit more in there. We think we're going to be able to fit 100 in there. And again, just another place where we can do evangelism. Another ministry is our Living Alternatives. And that ministry is a commitment to the unborn and also to women who are pregnant in crisis pregnancy centers. That ministry has been going for over 20 years here. It's one of our oldest ministries. But the interesting thing about this ministry is that it's right next to the busiest abortion clinic in our state, in our area. And many times the women go in the wrong door, or should I say the right door, because they're really coming in our place. They come into our building thinking they're going to have an abortion. They realize sometimes they're in the wrong building. And we just kind of take it from there and talk to them that that's a real baby. There's going to be thousands of people coming, and we believe that you can be a part of it. So we're excited, and come and join us. And We just love to host teams of people that come. We love to host individuals that want to come, especially need skilled people to do buildings over and help other people with their buildings and their churches and their places that have been destroyed. So this is a tremendous opportunity for you.
These people are desperate. They've been a long time without the basic necessities. So.
You come up and try to ask people, do you need diapers, do you have babies, do you just need food, do you just need water, and they just say we've lost everything, we need whatever you can give us. And so
we're giving them water so they can have some water to drink. A lot of people, they don't have shampoo, they need toothbrushes and toothpaste, and we're just doing the basics and the essentials.
For years, Youth with a Mission has been working in Vietnam to help local farmers and business people with community development. We recently talked with some of the staff, and they sent us this story.
Vietnam. The name reminds some people of war. But the Civil War ended in 1975. Hanoi, the nation's capital, is a thriving city of 3.5 million people, yet it still retains a village feel. Most of the nation's 82 million people live in the beautiful countryside. It rains a lot in Vietnam, which is perfect for helping rice grow. 80% of the population is involved in rice production, and much of life revolves around the seasons. The country's change to a market economy has helped it grow from a rice importer to the third largest rice exporter in the world. This remarkable growth has been achieved mainly through the industriousness of the people. But life is still a struggle for most Vietnamese, especially for tribal groups, and many go hungry for months at a time. They try multiple ways to earn money just to be able to feed their families. Most have at least 2 jobs. For more than 1,000 years, village leaders and state servants have been trained in Confucius thought. Confucianism is a mix of Buddhism, ancestral worship, animism, and the worship of national heroes as guardian spirits. Life is influenced by fear and constant anxiety, leading even high-ranking government officials to consult fortune tellers before making major decisions. Every household has an altar to ensure the ancestors are honored and worshipped. Every important event, from weddings to erecting buildings, must happen on specific days and include sacrifices. Vietnam's history is complex. Over the years, many thousands have sacrificed their lives to free their nation from foreign powers. Communism came to power in 1954 through Ho Chi Minh, a Marxist-Leninist who is revered as the father of the country. Communist slogans and banners are everywhere, reinforcing a deep-seated fear that one day the Vietnamese may have to fight again for their nation. So military exercises are part of daily life for all young people. Flags are flown from every house on holidays. Even non-party members show their patriotism. But God is at work in Vietnam. Youth with a Mission is partnering with local Vietnamese in community development projects. YWAMers introduce and model principles of openness and transparency in various aspects of life, including finances, decision-making, local ownership, and regard for the poor and disadvantaged. Locals are helped to identify problems in their communities and the root causes of those problems. They also learn to identify resources and how to implement change. For example, this map was presented at a local community meeting to show areas of heavy pollution. Members were encouraged to work together to identify pollution causes and work towards better land management. Another project showed that 30% of crops were being destroyed by rats. So YWAMers have shown how introducing cats into the ecosystem can reduce the rat population, thus helping increase crop yields and profits. New rice production techniques are being taught, and small loans are being given, especially to chicken farmers who have been devastated by the bird flu.
Before we had this rice project and the agricultural training, our rice yield measured only 157 kilograms per 360 meters square of land. But since we've had this agricultural project, which YWAM has introduced, the rice yield has increased to 210 kilograms of rice. So every day we remember the project and YWAM's involvement, which has introduced to us so many new things, particularly in rice production in Tang Binh commune.
Water pollution and waste treatment are huge issues, particularly in the rural environments where little is being done. Only 30% of Vietnam has access to clean water, so YWAM is working with communities to come up with appropriate models for waste collection and treatment. YWAMers help raise awareness about pollution issues and introduce new technologies. For example, in some communities, kitchens are no longer smoky, dark rooms where rice straw is used for cooking fuel. Instead, villagers have been taught how to build biodigesters so they can turn animal manure into clean burning fuel. YWAM has developed several projects that address the needs of children. They partner with communities to build preschools and provide teacher training to ensure quality education. They also work in adult education, training parents in nutrition and other subjects. YWAM funds orphanages in 3 communities, training locals to staff them. In this way, children are cared for in a loving environment to become productive citizens for the future of Vietnam. There is much to be done in this nation, and YWAM is just beginning to scratch the surface. God has a purpose, a future, and a hope for the people of Vietnam.
Our final story takes us to Paraguay, where missionaries made contact with a tribe living in the bush and then helped them transition to the inevitable exposure of the outside world. It's another great example of community development. YWAM Buenos Aires sent us this story. When we leave our world behind, new colors emerge. We only need take a step back from the buzz of Ciudad del Este to find a community that lives, feels, and perceives reality in an entirely different way. For the Ache, happiness, love, and community life are the very reasons for their existence, so much so that they hate greed, theft, and violence. The Ache are an indigenous group living in Puerto Vara, in Paraguay, and between the rivers Ñaro and Ñacuday. Their lives are intimately bound to a continuous search for the community's happiness. Their contagious smile, profound joy, and obvious desire to live conceal the situations this indigenous community has had to face in order to survive near extinction.
From the middle of the last century, the local forest was being destroyed. The Ache ran in desperation. They could not understand why the white man was invading and eliminating all their territory. They'd been hunted, killed, attacked, and raped in every possible way. There are stories that they tell that would leave your blood cold. The Ache were known for hunting and killing outsiders. However, we continued to search in the jungle for them due to our commitment, knowing that we could not turn back. Under the cover of each rumble of thunder, we cautiously advanced to the jungle, 2 or 3 steps at a time until we heard activity just in front of us and saw smoke rising between the trees. Ahead of us was the palm tree waving precariously. Suddenly the palm tree fell directly towards us, opening the forest up like a curtain. When the woman who had been felling the tree saw us, she screamed in horror. Lorenzo, one of our group, ran forward and grabbed her arm and said, "Don't be afraid. We're good people." He exclaimed that we white people had the intention to care and respect for Ache. 4 months later, we returned to the forest in a motorboat. When we reached the village, one of the women called us. We agreed on a place for all of us to meet the next morning. As we waited for them the next day, we heard them cry out to us. And when we looked, we saw 20 Ache and their children crossing the bridge in a line. For me, it was such a remarkable experience.
Finally, on the 20th of October, 1976, the Ache made a decision to take ownership of the land offered by the Fostervold family, which is now called Puerto Vara. There were only 30 members of the tribe left. They continue to fight to maintain their race, culture, language, traditions, and values. They started their first school in 1977 and today run an official bilingual college up to 9th grade, working with local Paraguayan teachers who speak Ache.
Mi sueño personal es ver a los Ache realmente realizados como personas.
My personal dream is to see the Ache fulfilled like any national citizen. Indigenous people receive a lot of discrimination. They're treated as second-class citizens. Some people even treat them as animals. This really hurts. When you're here, you realize that the reality is completely different. They too are human. They too have dreams and goals. If I don't receive a salary, it doesn't matter, as I'm going to be here for the Ache because I love them. I want to see this community rise up as a model for others.
Both adults and children attend school. They do everything together as a family, work together, laugh together, play together, and help each other out. When a baby is born, the community celebrates, as new life symbolizes the continuation of their existence. Parents teach children their traditions to maintain their family identity. Their pastimes are football and volleyball, sports which missionaries taught them. However, they haven't forgotten their traditional games, such as swinging across the river and, above all, tickling each other. The Ache have always believed in a higher being to provide them with food, protection, and life. They believed in honey, the sun, and the moon, but the most popular belief was based in the clouds as a representation of the presence of God.
My grandfather told me that God was above, that he was in the clouds to be worshipped. We didn't have any image of God. We just thought that he was above.
After years of friendship with the Fostervold missionaries, the Ache accepted Christianity as they found it consistent with their own beliefs.
I'm the pastor of the community. I'm responsible for guiding and advising both married couples and young people. Today in Puerto Bada, 80% of the Ache are brothers in Christ. We don't drink alcohol or take drugs.
The Ache now pray to God for protection and health. When they become ill, they look to natural medicine in local hospitals in Santa Rita. The community looks after the natural births, but they also count on the help of neighboring doctors. Learning to cultivate the land was not easy. They didn't know what it meant to harvest or how to look after the land. They didn't recognize it as a valid way of supporting their lives, but they had to learn. Today, both the young and the elderly work the land together with machetes and a few agricultural machines to cultivate corn, yucca, soya, sweet potato, and wheat. These products are sold in order to obtain an income. The Ache never had need for money until the white man arrived. Even the idea of selling their precious wooden crafts came from a white man. They make jewelry out of animal teeth and the woven baskets made from natural fibers to carry their babies. They also enjoy the beautiful melodies of their wooden or bamboo flutes. There are 4 chiefs chosen by the community who uphold order, peace, and justice and maintain their principles and culture.
If there are any difficult situations, we unite as a community in order to walk into the future together. We are worried about the needs of the community. For example, the problem with electricity and the water system that we use to wash our clothes, cook, and bathe. If God allows, we will soon have electricity and an improved water system.
For the Ache, hunting is the strongest cultural symbol. With enormous handcrafted bows and arrows and their finely tuned hearing, the Ache hunt monkey, armadillo, raccoon, and other animals to form part of their grand banquets. Men are valued for their hunting ability and strength, and the women for their ability to collect fruits and tree grubs and look after the children. The Ache have adapted in one way or another to a life that has been forced on them by white men. Many of these changes are the challenges they face to maintain and develop their cultural identity in a technological age.
I'm Ache, and my name is Carmen. These are my daughters. I'm worried about them, about their education and their future.
I'm Ache, and I want to preserve my people's culture.
They have forgiven the aggressions of the past and have accepted our culture. How will you respond? Since November of 2005, 15 YWAMers have died tragically. From auto accidents to health-related issues, they were taken from us at the height of their ministries. These missionaries loved God and were passionate about their work. Our hearts go out to those of you who knew and worked with all of these faithful workers, but especially to their families who have lost fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, and wives. Please keep all of them in your prayers. And that's it for this issue of Global Perspectives. As always, if you have questions or comments about this or past issues, or if you'd like to post an event at your base, you can contact us at gp@intelcom.org.